What's up, Falcon fans and non-Falcon fans? On today's episode of reviewing the Atlanta Falcons offensive depth chart part 2, and we're going to talk about the wide receivers room. If you guys like this type of content, let me know by hitting that like button. If you guys dislike this type of content, hit that dislike button. It won't hurt your boy's feelings. Okay, maybe just a little bit. And also, please subscribe to your boy. You guys have been doing such a great job on doing that, and I really can't thank you guys enough. So, while we're here on the screen, we can clearly see wide receiver 1 is Drake London, the rookie from last year. And for our starting number 2 receiver, that will be Mac Hollins. And then we got our starting slot receiver, that will be Scotty Miller. And then, of course, we have other wide receivers in the depth chart, but we'll explain them later. So let's just talk about the main starters for the Falcons right now. First, let's talk about Drake London's contract. So he signed a 4-year deal worth $21 million in 2022 last year. Now, that's not including all of the signing bonuses he will get in the 4 years, including his 5th-year options if the Falcons do decide to pick it up. You know, his base salary always increases every year, so we have to forget about that. And then the average annual salary for him as well, and that's always so complicated to factor in. But just right now, that's how much we're going to give him on the top of the screen right there. So on that note, let's just look what he accomplished from last year. Now, this is all the stats he provided in his rookie year, and I thought he did a fantastic job on everything he had to do, especially receiving first down. So that's the FD. So he got 48 of those, getting those critical moments where he has to move the chains, and that's what you want to see in a young buck. Statistically, his best game was against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers last year, where him and Desmond Ridder found more connections than not, where he was targeted 8 times, caught 6 receptions for 120 yards. Of course, he didn't score any touchdowns, but he averaged 20 yards per reception, and that's fantastic. And he didn't fumble the ball away, okay? I know I'm going to rat on him for doing that, but he only did it 3 times. And, of course, he lost all 3 of those critical fumbles that really determined if we lose the game or not. No, besides the Baltimore Ravens, he fumbled that early on, but even still, okay, I digress that. So now, his worst game was against the Chicago Bears, where he was targeted 3 times, only caught 1 reception, and only got 2 yards, but he got that 1 touchdown early on in the beginning of the game. So what happened there? As I can remember, Marcus Mariota did not have a fantastic day in throwing the ball accurate enough where he needed to hit his targets on the dime. And I do remember that Kyle Pitts was the most targeted out of all those receiving groups, so that's also why that Drake London didn't get a lot of success in that game. But also the more key factor was that Tyler Algier and Cordarrelle Patterson both had over, I'm pretty sure, 50 plus rushing yards each, and the entire rushing team total over 150 plus rushing yards. So don't quote me on that if I'm right or wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's somewhere around that line. Of course, there's one thing I'm pretty sure a lot of people will mention. How come that Drake London didn't eclipse over 1,000 receiving yards? Well, there's a lot of factors that go into it, and then I know a lot of people will say, well, he was the first wide receiver to get taken off the board, and that's true. And now they're going to compare him to Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave, who was taken later, and they both clips over 1,000 receiving yards. Well, then again, that leaves the question, how come he couldn't do it? Number 1, he was in a running heavy offensive style of play. Number 2, Marcus Mariota was not the best quarterback wide receiver tandem duo at that time. And third, he was getting a lot of attentions by all of the defenders, so he was not getting himself a lot of time to be on one-on-one coverage. He was getting pressed a lot. He was getting checked a lot, and that just happens when you go first when it comes to your class. Of course, there's way more information we could talk about this, and this will be like an hour-long video, but I don't think we have the time for that. But I want to quickly explain 3 key statistics I think are very interesting for us, and hopefully he could build on into next year's. So number 1 is, how many times have the Atlanta Falcons used Drake London in the slot? Well, he was targeted 85 times in the slot. That's how many snaps he took there. Now, let's talk about the deep targets. He was targeted 15 times on those deep routes, and half of those he connected. So that's pretty good in my opinion. Now, this is very interesting. For the red zone targets, he was targeted 15 times, and out of those 15 times, he scored on 4 of those. It's not great, but it's not bad either. Of course, you would rather him get more touchdowns. But look, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt because he is a rookie and he has to figure out, in those tight spaces, how to get more separation enough. Even though with his height, he still needs to figure ways to clean up, his spread, if you want to say it like that, and use his hands properly to catch the balls in those tight situations. But on that note, I thought he did a fantastic job as a rookie. So now let's check out on the other guy. So now let's talk about Mac Holland's situation with the Atlanta Falcons. He signed a 1-year contract worth $250 million in this free agency market that just happened now. For the main question we have to ask ourselves, is this long-term or short-term for both party members? Because we have to making sure that when we sign a player who's going to start for us, can he have the ability to handle himself? Now, I will admit, I have hardly watched any of Holland's games, and that's being honest. I'm not gonna stand up and lie to you guys saying, oh yeah, I watched all his games back in 2017, because that's simply not true. I did not watch him when he was with the Eagles. I didn't watch him when he was with Miami Dolphins. I only got to watch his game when I was doing my case file series on him, and I was impressed when he was with the Raiders. But that's what we have to remember. He had 1 year with the Raiders where he truly got a start and made a name for himself. Sometimes, like I always say, you don't start out balling. Sometimes you have to take a couple of years and a lot of, carrying up the depth chart to finally get your opportunity. It's just like college, man. Sometimes we forget that when these kids come out of college and, when the media, especially NFL networks, who always overhype these kids where everybody's just so memorized what they can bring to the table, and when they go into the second and third rounds and sometimes they don't make a big splash right away, we kind of quickly forget about who they are, and that's just unfair. Unfortunately, that's just how the NFL world works. So my whole point, what I'm trying to convey to you guys, is that he kind of got lost in the depth chart with the Las Vegas Raiders when he had, Devontae Adams, Darren Waller, Brandon Bolder, Hunter Renfrow, Josh Jacobs, and he kind of got lost in that system. But even still, he put up the most second highest stats with that receiving core, only because Darren Waller and Hunter Renfrow both got injured. So we'll just see if he can replicate that with the Atlanta Falcons. Good news for the Atlanta Falcons, they found their starting slot wide receiver in Scotty Miller. So now there's been an update with Spotrac, and they just announced that the Falcons signed Scotty Miller to a 1-year contract worth over $1 million in this free agency market. What can we expect as Falcon fans what Scotty Miller brings to the Atlanta Falcon table? He stated in interviews that he can play inside or outside of the box. I think the Atlanta Falcons prefer him to play inside because he has a 5'9" frame, weigh almost over or under 170 to 180 pounds. And when I did get to see a little bit of his game going outside of the field, he didn't really win a lot of his matchups, against the corners or safeties, or even sometimes linebackers when they were covering him outside of the field. Now, he did win a couple of those matches, but more than not, he lost some of those major matchups. So that's why I'm not truly comfortable enough for him to be in the outside. I prefer to be the inside because he does do a lot of devastation in the middle of the field against linebackers because he still has that nice speed. Now, he was drafted back in 2019 with the 6th round types of picks. That's probably why he wasn't drafted a little higher, because he can't really win those individual matchups more than not. But besides that, let's take a closer look at his career with the Buccaneers. So in 2019, he was targeted 26 times, caught 13 receptions for 200 yards and 1 touchdown. In 2020, that was his best year so far. He was targeted 53 times, caught 33 passes, and caught over 500 yards and 3 touchdowns. But then in 2021, he didn't do so hot. He got 9 targets and 5 receptions for 38 yards, and only playing in 9 games, so he was banged up. And then this year, you see here on screen, He was targeted 40 times, caught 32 receptions, and only gathered 185 reception yards and 0 touchdowns. So what does that tell you? For me, there's two factors. Factor number one, clearly there was more wide receivers going around for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers because remember, Tampa, they signed Russell Gage. They had Rashawn Perriman. They signed Julio Jones. They have Chris Godwin. They have Mike Evans. So clearly he got lost in the receiver room. And then we have to question ourselves. He was targeted 40 times, but only caught 23 receptions. So was it his fault for not getting a lot of separation, or did he drop the balls, or was he just not in the right position at the right time to not catch these balls, or was it Tom Brady's fault? And I'm pretty sure it wasn't Tom Brady's fault. I don't remember the last time Tom Brady ever had a bad year as a quarterback. So, more likely than not, Tampa Bay Buccaneers fans know more about this situation than us. So, hopefully they can help us in this situation. Comment down below if you guys ever bother watching this video. Probably not. But on that note, let's dive deep into the other wide receiver players. So this is pretty self-explanatory right here. You can clearly see we talked about the three guys on top. Now let's talk about the other guys are at the bottom. And Jerry Bernhardt, I really want him to do well. In the preseason, I thought he looked good, regardless of what kind of matchups he was going against between, second, third, fourth, or no strings type of defenders. He did what he had to do, and he competed, and he won a lot of his matchups more than he lost his. And I think if he gets the proper training and the proper mindset, he could probably contribute to us this year. And let's not forget that he was Desmond Ridder go-to guy, so that's already good chemistry in my book. So let's talk about the middle. Josh Ali, I think that's how you say his name. I'm sorry, my boy, if I butchered it up or something like that. I have no clue where he came from, so he's probably a practice squad member. Now he could definitely prove us wrong, and I hope he proves us wrong, but for right now he's just a depth piece of really bottom tier practice squad member. And then you got your boy Frank Darby, my boy Frank Darby. I need you the ball, bro. I don't know what the hell going on with him. I'm mad because I'm confused and abused and don't know what the hell's going on with my boy. I want him the ball. I want him to give me those incredible emotional defeats when he makes those first down and make the defenders look stupid as hell, but he hasn't proven that yet, or maybe he just doesn't have the opportunity. I just don't know. I want my boy to succeed. I want him to be a star for us, an all-star. I don't care if he doesn't play basketball for us. He needs to be an all-star for us. Capiche? But you know what? I did like that the communication with him and Desmond Ridder on that one play drive on that 4th down conversion. I saw that. Hey, maybe there's something to work with. So I'm hoping the best for my boy, but come on, he got to step up. If he doesn't step up, he's going to be axed. No question about that. And now we're talking about Rashawn Henry. I hope I say my boy's name right, because my dyslexic ass won't do it justice for him. Never heard of him, never seen him. Definitely a practice squad member type of player. So on that note, this is what we have entire in the wide receiver room. Now, does it look excellent? Not to me. We definitely need to improve on this wide receiver room. Hopefully more depth in free agency and in the draft. More definitely, I would not be mad if we draft 2 wide receivers in this upcoming draft, because we need depth. That's really gonna hurt us in this offense if we cannot run the ball down the opponent's throats. So, anyways, thank you guys for sticking around for part 2. So part 3 will come out tomorrow, and that will be the tight end position. So on that note, what do Falcons do? Rise up. Until the next episode, show love and peace to the world, and peace.